Hello, sixth graders. It's me, Mrs. James. I am here to read chapter 33 of Wishtree. We're going to start there and see how far we go. If you could turn to page 136, I'm going to go back one page before we get to page 137. But guess what? There is no page 137. So let's go back to page 136 anyway, because I want to read a couple things to you. Get there, please. Get your eyes on the page. Let's get ready to go. So we have Maeve. We've met a new character. And Maeve wished on the wish tree. Maeve was the first person to ever wish on the wish tree. And here was what she wished. It says, "I wish," she whispered, "for someone to love with all my heart." And Red said, "That was my first wish in the beginning of many more." I just wanted to make sure you got that yesterday. All right, page 137, chapter 33. As the weeks passed, the piece of fabric on my branch drew many comments. Some of the folks in our neighborhood, the ones from Ireland, would nod knowingly and smile. To them, Maeve would simply say in her lilting voice, "That's my raggy tree. She's not a hawthorn, but she'll do just fine." Thank you, Emma, go to class. You guys, I told Emma I'm going to make a shirt that says, "Emma, go to class." I'm going to wear it. What color do you want me to make it, Emma? Purple or pink? Pink and purple?
No.
Okay. It said people who'd come here from other lands, and there were many of them, would frown, page 138, top, would frown at the rag or even reach up to remove it. Maeve would warn, "Don't you be touching my wish now." Patiently, again and again, she would explain how in her old home, leaving wishes on a raggy tree was a time-honored tradition. Now and then, people would ask Maeve what she'd wished for.
I need to get my new binder.
Okay. Now and then, people would ask Maeve what she'd wished for. She'd tell them the truth with a sigh and a wry smile. "Nothing much, just someone to love with all my heart. Nothing much at all." Sometimes people would laugh. Sometimes they would roll their eyes. "A wish on a rag won't bring you love, dearie," they would say. But usually people gave Maeve a kind smile, a squeeze on the arm, a knowing nod. And then they too would ask if they could add a wish of their own. Sixth graders, think about it. If you could put a wish on the wish tree today, what would you put? Chapter 34. Another year passed. As May neared, I found myself hosting more scraps of fabric than budding leaves. Squibbles tried to steal a few fabric lit strips to line his dray, the nest made of leaves and twigs high in one of my forked branches. I explained he'd have to stick with moss and pine needles until the 1st of May.
You might be hearing yelling. That's
Okay. Okay. Thank you for telling me that. Wishes, according to Maeve, could not be touched. Page 140. Until after May Day. Then the ones that weren't carried off in the wind or dragged to the ground by the rain could be removed by people or enterprising squirrels. I suspect she made up that rule for my benefit so I could grow unfettered without the weight of wet rags dragging me down. Just before dawn on the 1st of May, a young woman approached me. She had... Okay, thank you. Just before dawn on the first day of May, a young woman approached me. She had dark, wavy hair and wore a tattered gray coat. In her arms was a wrapped bundle. "Psst," Squibbles whispered to me. "Here comes another wish, Red." But Squibbles was wrong. There was no wish. Swiftly, but with great care, the girl placed her bundle in my hollow. A thank you for Maeve, I realized. A loaf of bread, perhaps. The girl had probably been one of her patients. She was gone as quickly as she'd come. Like a hummingbird, I thought. There, then not there, like a gust of wind. Ooh, chapter 35. I wonder what it was that she put in there. They said maybe like a loaf of bread or some kind of a gift. Let's see. Just a few minutes later, Maeve opened the door of the little brown house. She smiled at me and at the scraps in the early morning breeze. And then came the cry. Wait, wail was more like it. So like a cry is like, but a wail is like, oh. Wail was more like it. Coming from me. Not the meek peep of a wren chick, not the shy squeak of a mouse pup. No, this was a cry of righteous indignation. This was a baby. So she put a baby in the tree. Bye, Emma dear. I was going to stop here, but oh no, I've got to keep going. Chapter 36, page 145. But Miss James, there is no page 145. The baby had a note attached to her blanket. Haltingly, Maeve tried to read it out loud. Italian, she murmured. Only later, when she consulted one of her patients, did she understand its meaning. And this is what it said. Please give her the care I cannot. I wish for you both a life of love. Oh, it's the baby's mother. The baby's hair was black. Maeve's was red. The baby's eyes were brown. Maeve's were blue. The baby was Italian. Maeve was Irish. They were made for each other. Maeve named the baby Amadora, which meant in Italian, the gift of love. Wow. Chapter 37. Many in the neighborhood didn't approve of an unmarried Irish woman raising an abandoned Italian baby. People talked, as they will, and they tisked as they must. Some people were even angry. They said hurtful things. They told Maeve that Amadora didn't belong. They told Maeve that she and the baby should leave. Maeve merely smiled, held Amadora close, and waited and hoped. On dark nights when hope was scarce, she would sing an old Irish tune mixed with a newer Italian song that she had learned from a neighbor. The melody was so sweet. The words were so silly. The effect was always the same. A little smile from little Amma. Sure enough, the longer Maeve waited, the kinder people grew, and before long, Amma, as she came to be called, was as much a part of our messy garden as all the rest of us. When Amma was old enough to feed Squibbles and his family, she did. When she was strong enough to climb me, she did. And when she was ready to make wishes of her own, she did. Amma grew up steady and honest and kind like her mother and had babies of her own, and then grandchildren, and then great-grandchildren. Eventually, Amma and her husband bought the little brown house and the one right next to it and painted them blue and green. Years later, they purchased a house across the street and began to rent the blue and green houses to other families. The family grew and prospered and argued and failed and loved and laughed. Always and forever, the laughter kept them going. And when Emma's grandson had a little girl, he chose a fine Italian name for her with a fine Irish middle name, Francesca Maeve. Wow. So let's remember, sixth graders. Do you remember who is the landlord of the two homes, Stephen and Samar's house? Those houses used to be brown, but now they're painted green and blue. The owner of those two homes is Francesca. Now what we find out is that Francesca, the one with the two kittens, Lewis and Clark, remember her? Now we find out that Francesca was Maeve's great-granddaughter. I just remembered something. Remember when Red told Bongo that Francesca reminded Red of a little girl he knew long time ago, and it was Francesca's great grandmother. I'm putting it all together. All right, we can't stop here. Let's keep going. Chapter 38, and then I think we'll be done. As for me, my reputation grew. Hadn't Maeve's wish come true in the heart of a wish tree? Didn't that mean anything was possible? Sixth graders, please hear this. Anything is possible. Anything you dream, anything you wish, anything you want, it is possible. Just believe. All right, let me keep going. Let me not get distracted. Of course, as Squibbles often reminded me, I had nothing to do with it. This isn't a fairy tale, Red, he would say. But people are full of longings, and decade after decade, the hopes kept coming. A blessing and a burden it has been, all those wishes, all those years, but everyone needs to hope. Sorry, I lied. We're going to keep going. Chapter 39. At long last, I stopped talking. Once the words had spilled out, it was like trying to stop the wind. In the silence that followed, I felt as if the whole world was holding its breath. I'd broken the rule. Stephen and Samar still stared open-mouthed at me. They were like this. They looked as rooted to the ground as I was. Neither had uttered a sound while I told my story. The front door to Stephen's house opened. "Stephen," called his father. "What the heck are you doing, young man?" Stephen leapt to his feet. Here I come, Dad. Night, Samar." "Night, Stephen," she said. Stephen dashed toward the porch but stopped halfway. He spun around to look at me. "Thanks," he said in a quizzical voice, using the same tone he might have used if Bongo had just made him pancakes. The door slammed behind him. Samar stood, holding her blanket to her chest. "I know I must be dreaming," she said. She headed to her own porch and eased open the door. "I just wished," she added with a smile, "that I didn't have to wake up." Almost instantly, I regretted what I'd done. I'd broken the rule, the biggie. I'd deliberately spoken to people. And not just a few words. I'd spoken a river of words. It wasn't like that frog in the mailbox. I hadn't broken the rule accidentally. I'd broken the rule because I wanted something. I wanted to matter. I wanted to do something meaningful before I died. I'd done it for myself. After the shocked babies and their equally shocked parents were safely ensconced in their dens, I admitted my feelings to Bongo. I waited for her to yell at me. Bongo is good at yelling, extremely good. You might even say she has a gift. "Why did I do it, Bongo?" I murmured. "Why?" She flew to home plate. She stroked my rough bark with her sleek head. "You did it, my wise old tree, because you had a story to tell." "It was foolish," I said. "I'm not supposed to be foolish." "Not so foolish," Bongo said. "Just hopeful. And everyone needs to hope, Red. Even wise old trees. Even you." Okay, this time, last chapter for real. Chapter 41. Morning emerged slowly, heavy with clouds. A light rain had fallen just before dawn, soothing my leaves, if not my mood. Oddly, the ground felt saturated. Spring was always muddy, of course, but this was unusual. It would make for a messy wishing day tomorrow. An early rising old gentleman with a bamboo cane approached. He paused to attach a small piece of blue paper to my lowest branch using a bit of twine. He didn't say his wish aloud, so I couldn't tell what it was, but he had a satisfied smile as he stepped carefully through the soggy grass. No doubt, excuse me. Oh gosh, I'm acting like Flash. I got the hiccups. No doubt I'd be seeing more wishes today. Many people came early to grab an easy-to-reach spot. This would probably be my last wishing day. How could it be that my first one that long ago day with Maeve still seemed as fresh in my heart as my conversation with Stephen and Samar from the previous night? A car slowed to a crawl near the curb. I saw an arm, a blur, and then splat! Something hit my trunk. Splat! Splat! First of all, splat, that is an onomatopoeia, if you didn't know. It's a word that is used to sound like what it sounds like. It's so splat is what it sounded like. So I'm wondering, is it paint? Is it tomatoes? What makes a splat? Let's read to find out. Splat, 2 more times, and the car roared off with a screech of tires. Oh, did it stop? No. Okay, cool. I did plug in my PC. What are you talking about? Hold on, friends. Hold on, friends. It's telling me that I need to plug in my computer, and I did. What the heck? I plugged it in, computer. What are you talking about? Why are you this disrespectful to me? I'm lost. Pause. Hold on. Got it. Okay, sorry about that. Now I have to figure out where I was at. All right. It said splat, splat, page 158. 2 more times, and the car roared off with a screech of tires. Bongo was the first to report on the damage. Raw eggs, she said. I'm assuming that didn't hurt. Didn't feel a thing, I said. Fresh baked bread, hairy spiders, and Big U ventured out to inspect the situation. Big U slipped under the police tape and licked one of the yolks running down my trunk. Mmm, she murmured, raw just the way I like 'em. Hey, Big, share the wealth, Hairy Spider snapped, and as she and Fresh joined her. Agnes watched from her perch. I'd much prefer a squirming mouse pup, she said. It's all yours, ladies. What a nice surprise, Big U said between slurps. This is not nice, Bongo said. This is people at their worst. Still, said Hairy Spiders, licking her paws, it'd be a shame to let a perfectly good egg goo go to waste. One creature's nastiness is another creature's nibble. Big U gave a satisfied burp, and the animals scampered back to their homes. The door to Stephen's house opened. He walked over to me, saw the eggshells scattered like puzzle pieces, and scowled. Samar was next, a backpack slung over her shoulder and books clutched to her chest. She leapt over a muddy puddle and joined Stephen. Jerks, he muttered, gesturing toward the egg remains. Sorry, Samar, but Samar held up her hand. Stephen, she said in a low voice. Last night, Stephen nodded ever so slightly, his eyes locked on me. Last night, he repeated as if they were speaking in code. The tree. A tree. You heard what I heard? Samar asked. I did. Samar looked right at Stephen. You heard the tree? I heard the tree. Samar gave a little nod. So it was maybe a trick, somebody playing a joke on us, or maybe we were both sleepwalking at the same moment, Stephen suggested. He nodded as if trying to convince himself. Yeah, sleepwalking. Have you ever sleepwalked before? No, but there's a first time for everything. They stood there looking at me expectantly, willing me to speak. At least that's how it felt. I stayed silent. I'd said my piece, and I regretted it. Stephen, Samar said softly, whatever happens, we can't tell a soul about this. Deal? Deal. Ever? Ever. Samar sighed. People would say we were crazy. And they'd probably be right, said Stephen. Samar jutted her chin at me. Tree? Do you have anything to add? I didn't say a word. Samar and Stephen shared a smile. Figured it was worth a shot, she said. They headed off to school together. Stephen's father came out onto the porch. He was holding a cup of coffee. He caught sight of Stephen and Samar and frowned. A moment later, Samar's mother stepped out of the blue house, her keys jangling, a briefcase over her shoulder. She followed her neighbor's gaze. Both parents watched in silence until Stephen and Samar, walking side by side, disappeared from view. We will stop there, sixth graders. Their parents don't seem too happy about their friendship. All right, guys, I hope you have a wonderful day. We'll read more tomorrow. Bye.